Covert narcissism and karma. Welcome, big welcome to you. And those of you who regularly listen to my vlogs will be thinking that my last 30 years have been full of the most incredible misfortune. I often think the same myself. But I really do believe we create our own fortune. So how can this be? Particularly if you've been listening to my audiobooks, you'll know that I endured 20 years of abuse by a psychopathic covert narcissist. So this vlog is really about covert narcissists, although you could see it as being about all narcissists, indeed all of the dark triad, so including psychopaths and Machiavellians. You probably be asking, what is a covert narcissist? Well, like a narcissist, they crave attention and importance, as well as lacking empathy towards others. But there are important differences in the way that a covert narcissist acts and behaves over that of the narcissist. The covert narcissists might have a more gentle approach to explain why something is your fault and they're not to blame. They will regularly pretend to be the victim of your behaviour, or engage in emotional abuse to put themselves in a position to receive reassurance and praise from you. They love to play the victim, so it's sort of, they're after empathy, they're after everyone to feel sorry for them, and that, I suppose, is the crucial difference. Now, you're probably saying, why on earth did I last 20 years in an abusive relationship? And I suppose I'm asking myself that now. And yeah, I knew something was wrong, but I have a great sense of duty, so certainly I had a son with this person, or at least that's what she told me. And, you know, I felt a massive sense of duty. And it wasn't until I began to find out about psychopathy and narcissism, after I'd had no contact with my ex-partner, that the penny began to drop. Now, I should have known there were loads and loads of red flags, not least I am somewhat a trained psychologist. I'm trained to administer psychological tests. And when I was training to do it, I administered one on her, which had very, very strange results indeed. So strange that I consulted the clinical manual, which suggested she was probably a psychopath. But I've got to say that in those days, I had no idea what a psychopath was. I just thought it was, you know, slightly funny. But, you know, quite apart from the red flags, I should have known. My mother really is a covert narcissist, although not high on the scale and nothing like, you know, what my partner was. But nevertheless a covert narcissist. But again, I didn't know what a narcissist was until, you know, I started researching it all. However, from an early age, I realised that she lied. I think I might have been about 8 when I realised my mother lied. She used to call them little white lies. But even at the age of 8, I thought, no, a lie's a lie. There are no little white lies. But in particular, she would feign illness to gain attention. And I very quickly learned not to give her this attention. As if I did, her behaviour was reinforced and she became worse. It became more regular. When I became a teenager, I couldn't stand to be in the house with her. And, you know, I thought this was a normal part of being a teenager. But when I look back on my life, I've been running ever since. Of course, I do feel guilty, but then that's typical of someone who's in one of these relationships. I feel guilty at not giving an elderly mother the attention she craves. But my reaction is a natural impulse. And indeed, no contact is the only real way to deal with narcissism. Past karma. Now, in the past, I've argued that the dark triad, so I've said what it is, but it's narcissists, psychopaths and Machiavellians, are souls that have been sent back to Earth to live out their karma. They hate themselves, so they can never be happy. They have no emotions, so they feed off the emotions of others, be they good or be they bad. I mean, maybe this is where the whole idea of vampires comes from, but certainly they are vampires. You might have come across this term, emotional vampires. But, I mean, what I'm talking about is narcissists, so there's no need to complicate it. But yes, they are like vampires. They're always jealous and they want something, but they can never be satisfied. So typically they're always greedy, but no matter how much they have, they always want more and more. Worse still, because they do understand how devious they are, they're completely distrustful of everybody else, because they know how bad they are. So there can be no trust. They can never have a meaningful relationship with anyone. There's no love and there's no care, because these are the very emotions that they push away. Now, isn't that the definition of hell? A place where you can trust no one, have no love, have no human companionship? It certainly feels like that to me. And it also means that in doing so, they've cut themselves off from God. So they can never be happy, they can never be fulfilled, they can never embark on that journey of finding God. Now, interestingly, they always have difficulty in sleeping. Could this be the reason why they have such difficulty in sleeping? Because they're always restless, they can never be happy? Indeed, they're so driven by their narcissism that I've argued that they no longer seem to have free will. Now there must be free will somewhere, but it's almost as though they've given up their free will to the will of others. And I'm not going to go into this in any detail, but in the past I've called such people avatars, or alternative words, a meat golem or moral automata. But as I say, they're comments I've already made, and that this really isn't the main thrust of this vlog, including the past karma. Narcissism and misfortune. If you're in a relationship or know a narcissist closely, you seemingly experience incredible misfortune. As I say, it felt like that happened to me. You seem to have many accidents. You do, your loved ones, and in your home. Many breakages occur. Now, you know, breakages are normal, but it's the level of breakages. I mean, yeah, they're often things that are fragile, but as I say, it's just the quantity that's unusual. Minor accidents may happen to you. Well, it could be major, but certainly minor accidents will happen to you, your children, and those around you. Disagreements and fights within the family become much, much more common, to a level that you've never experienced it before. And there'll be many illnesses, often unexplained. I mean, when I was about 10 years ago, I was going backwards and forwards to the doctor and saying, oh, I've experienced this, I've experienced that, and she'd run tests and nothing could be found. And when I said, what do you think it is, doctor? She'd shrug her shoulders. Now, these illnesses, you know, they're not simply physical. They could be mental illnesses as well. You yourself experience a high level of anxiety, sleep problems, weight problems. That could be putting on weight, it could be losing weight, but you experience fluctuating weight. And, I was going to say these seem to weigh you down. Well, yeah, these seem to weigh down on your mental health. They seem to put more and more pressure on you. Some people experience these voices in their head as though they're possessed by something. Indeed, my own son has become a schizophrenic, and this creates a cycle of stress. You and those around you might experience addictions, and this could be all sorts of addictions. I'd say addictions and attachments, but compulsive behaviours, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. Often there's big financial losses. Now, of course, financial losses do happen. You know, we all have a run of what we might see as bad luck from time to time, and that's natural. But what is unnatural about it, yet again, is the frequency of it. It seems to be one financial problem after another. And eventually you lower your vibrations, and that brings its own bad luck, because you develop a fatalism. Now, my covert narcissist partner told me near the end of our relationship that she was at first attracted to me by my optimism. But by the end of 20 years, I'd become pessimistic. Because that's what they do. They suck out, they feed off all of your emotions. And in the end, you have no more positive emotions to give, simply negative. But they feed off the negative emotions as well, making those worse. Explanations. Why do these things happen? Well, could it be the effects of stress? Certainly, I've argued this in my audiobooks. And, you know, stress will explain an awful lot of it. And it's certainly what doctors, scientists would tell you. It's all down to stress. And I'm not discounting that for 1 minute. But having lived through it all, I think there's more to it than that. Narcissistic jealousy, I was going to say, is like the evil eye, but it is the evil eye. And all of these misfortunes are indicative of the effects of an evil eye. And now, I've also argued in the past that the evil eye is the most common form of black magic, and indeed, I believe, is the basis of all black magic. Ceremonial magic, which, as you possibly know, I'm not dismissive of it working, but I believe all it does is it focuses the intentions of the evil eye. So it just focuses those things. And, you know, when you're subjected to that, you begin to lower your vibrations. You begin to attract bad luck. And you attract pessimistic people around you. And now, you probably know I'm not a big one on the law of attraction. But what I would say is that you do start to attract your own negativity. Some 4 years ago, when my wife lost her mind, I was at my lowest, and I believed that all that I touched turned to disaster. I looked inside myself and realised that only I could make myself happy. And it was through this looking for happiness, striving for happiness within myself, that I found my light. But is this all about karma? That narcissists are followed by the bad karma? The karma from a past life that has placed them in this hell? Something which surrounds everyone they come into contact with, but particularly people they're jealous of or have a relationship. Of course, it becomes self-fulfilling and you sink deeper and deeper into despair. It's a test of your will, and I know that. I know that from bitter experience. But you know, eventually the universe will balance and the wheel of fortune will turn. But you need to find your own happiness and to stop blaming it on others. Now, we know that our neighbours in Jakarta and our Dukan brother have used ceremonial magic to kill me and my family. But I also have hypothesised, and I'm coming increasingly to the conclusion, that this reflects the negativity within us. Certainly we found that our own anger and desire for retaliation, desire for retribution, only makes the effects of the magic worse. So if we are negative within ourselves, we can feel the effects much worse because we're joining in this negativity. So if we forgive and ignore these people, then things will change eventually. But even our anxiousness over the slowness of change makes these effects worse. Why? Why? Well, if I could honestly answer this question, then I would be God. And my faith is very strict. That not only should I not think that I am God, I should not behave as though I'm God. So I'm only proffering opinions here, because who can know? But what I've argued is that narcissists seem to be on a mission to destroy empaths. Almost as though this mission is to make the entire world behave as though they're narcissists. Certainly I've argued that social media seems to encourage narcissistic behaviour, as narcissists are loyal and predictable consumers. But I was hoping that the point that I make now is a little bit more profound. You see, it seems to me that the world is now dominated by narcissists, and that narcissists and psychopaths control our every institution, including religious institutions, and that the assumption on how the world works are now all narcissistic. In fact, doesn't this describe the constant crises the world now seems to face? How we're fed on fear porn to lower our vibrations. Of course, this is focused on greed, and narcissists seem hell-bent on owning or controlling all the resources in the world. But I'd urge you, instead of getting angry, maybe we should simply ignore them. Laugh at their desire to freeze their bodies when they die. Laugh at their desire to explore space. And maybe we should get on with our lives, looking after those around us, and wherever possible, rejecting the trinkets that they try to bribe us with. So am I suggesting this is a battle between good and evil? Well, I've argued in the past that I really don't see things in terms of good and evil. Or even really in lightness and darkness. There's light and there's no light. There's God and there's an absence of God. But for sure, we need to find our light and avoid getting dragged into retaliation and hatred. Yes, we need to find our own life. So good and evil, God and Satan, are particularly useful metaphors to all understand all that I have talked about. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed this vlog and that, not only got something out of it, but provoked thoughts. I'm not here to push my beliefs, my thoughts on you. Only to open up your own thinking. Get you thinking about the world and life. When I started The Real Magic of Java, I believed that I'd only release them every month or maybe every 2 months. But now I find myself adding to this subsection once or twice a week. But please subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications for when I add new parts to this subsection. In part, the reason why I'm doing it more often is that the concept has moved from filming rituals and events that took place in Java to me also describing my beliefs and philosophy. And that does come in response to people expressing an interest in it. But of course, you know, me actually seeing rituals and events really doesn't happen so often. What I would say to you is that there's no attempt at subterfuge on my behalf. And when I do experience rituals, I will include them for you to see. And as I say, there's no way I'm trying to mislead you. And if I believe there is subterfuge, if I uncover it, I will point it out to you. I'm trying to be as honest as I can be. Now, please make comments, please ask questions, and I'll try to be as honest and open with you as I can be. Of course, there will be some of you who disagree with me, particularly when I talk in terms of my own beliefs, my own feelings. And, you know, you're welcome to alternative feelings, and we can agree to disagree. Sometimes I find that people on YouTube can be unnecessarily attacking and aggressive, and at times I don't restrain myself enough, and I apologise, but it's not my intention to put anybody down, you know. I know what I talk about can be emotive, and it can be challenging to your beliefs. But, you know, I'd love to enter an open discussion, a heartfelt discussion. But unfortunately, I often come across things that are, especially when people quote the scriptures to me, I've just no idea where it takes us, you know. Because I'm speaking from the heart, you know. I mean, you know, sorry, if you want to quote the scriptures at me, do so, but it doesn't have much impact on me, you know. I personally have no desire to impose my feelings on you, and I suppose when people try to do it to me, it washes off, you know. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to share my feelings with you, and I'd love an open discussion on feelings. I really would love it, you know. And sorry if I don't always react as best I should. I try and cure this in myself, but I think this is part of the sort of narcissism of social media that I talk about so much in this subsection. So look, if you've enjoyed it, I really urge you to listen to other sections on this channel, particularly the 4 audio books that I've uploaded onto this channel. Yes, they are in a novel format, they are novels, but they go into much greater depth than my thoughts and feelings. Now, what I would say to you is these are sequential. So my thoughts and feelings develop as we go through each chapter and each book. So it does begin with 1.1, the Chinese cemetery. But, you know, hey, it's up to you. Feel free to dip in as you wish, as you want. And, you know, really heartfelt thanks for listening to this. And I really want to say a great big thank you, and God bless you.